Sex. The most intimate human connection. Yet paradoxically, the most misunderstood psychological landscape of human relationships. We've been sold a simplistic narrative that sex is just physical, a mechanical exchange of bodily pleasures. But beneath this surface lies a complex topography of power, vulnerability, emotional intelligence, and unspoken psychological negotiations. Sexual initiation isn't just about wanting physical intimacy. It's a profound, nuanced communication system that reveals the deepest, most intricate dynamics of human connection. Imagine sexual initiation as an elaborate dance, not a choreographed performance, but an improvised, raw expression of human vulnerability. Every touch, every invitation, every moment of hesitation, they're not just physical gestures. They're intricate psychological languages speaking volumes about desire, safety, and emotional landscape. Let's take a look at the 5 profound psychological dimensions of sexual initiation. 1. The vulnerability spectrum. Sexual initiation represents the ultimate emotional risk assessment, a profound psychological tightrope walk of human vulnerability. When someone initiates sex, they're doing far more than expressing physical desire. This moment transcends physical attraction. It's a declaration of emotional courage. When someone chooses to initiate sexual intimacy, they're essentially performing an emotional striptease more naked than physical nudity. This moment triggers a complex neurochemical cascade, activating the brain's fear centers and bonding mechanisms simultaneously. The initiator becomes psychologically exposed, risking rejection, judgment, and potential emotional devastation. It's a courageous act of saying, "I want you, and I'm willing to be potentially humiliated in that wanting." The vulnerability lies not in the physical act, but in the raw, unfiltered admission of desire. This creates a moment of supreme psychological nakedness that transcends mere physical interaction. 2. Power dynamics and emotional architecture. Sexual initiation is never neutral. It is an intricate dance of power dynamics, far more complex than a simple physical invitation. Each initiation becomes a nuanced negotiation of emotional safety, trust, and psychological positioning. The initiator voluntarily places themselves in a position of potential vulnerability, offering the receiver momentary emotional control. This split-second interaction reveals volumes about relationship dynamics. Who feels safe enough to be vulnerable? Who carries emotional risk? How power subtly circulates between partners. It's a silent conversation happening beneath the surface, where nonverbal cues, historical relationship patterns, and individual psychological landscapes intersect. The act of initiation becomes a microcosm of the entire relationship's emotional architecture, exposing underlying power structures, communication patterns, and unspoken relational agreements. 3. Attachment styles. Our childhood experiences and attachment styles are the invisible choreographers of our sexual interactions, silently directing how we approach intimacy. An anxious attacher might approach sexual initiation with a cocktail of desire and paralyzing fear, constantly second-guessing themselves and seeking reassurance. The avoidant type might use sexual initiation as a calculated method of maintaining emotional distance, creating intimacy while simultaneously protecting themselves from true vulnerability. A securely attached individual approaches sexual initiation with a balanced confidence, understanding that vulnerability is strength, not weakness. These attachment patterns are not just theoretical constructs, but lived experiences. They manifest in every touch, every hesitation, every moment of sexual invitation, revealing a complex psychological script written long before the current relationship began. 4. The Neurochemical Symphony. Sexual initiation is a sophisticated neurochemical performance that transforms abstract emotional states into tangible physiological experiences. When someone decides to initiate sexual intimacy, they trigger a complex hormonal cascade. Dopamine floods the system, creating anticipation and pleasure. Oxytocin begins to weave its intricate connection-building magic. Cortisol rises, signaling the emotional risk being taken. Serotonin works to modulate mood and reduce anxiety. This isn't just a biological process, it's a nuanced emotional alchemy, where chemicals become feelings and hormones translate psychological states into physical sensations. Each initiation becomes a unique neurochemical signature, a deeply personal symphony of vulnerability, desire, and connection. 5. Cultural and gender constructs. Sexual initiation is never a neutral act. It's a profound political statement embedded within layers of cultural, gender, and societal expectations. Traditional patriarchal narratives have long dictated that male sexual initiation is expected, even demanded, while female desire is often suppressed or shamed. Feminist reclamations challenge these scripts, emphasizing female sexual agency and dismantling power imbalances. Generational shifts are creating more fluid, emotionally intelligent approaches to sexual communication, rejecting rigid gender roles and promoting authentic emotional expression. Each sexual initiation becomes a subtle rebellion against systemic narratives, a personal act reflecting and challenging broader societal constructs of desire, power, and intimacy. So, sexual initiation is an emotional risk assessment where frequency matters less than the quality of vulnerability, true intimacy transcends physical performance, and emotional exposure becomes the most profound form of human connection. It's not about how often you have sex. It's about how deeply are you willing to be seen. In a world of performative relationships, sexual initiation becomes a revolutionary act of emotional honesty. Are you brave enough to be truly vulnerable?